I've worked on him.
The three-day technology presentation was officially opened this afternoon by the Federal Minister for Newcastle, Alan Morris. The display was Newcastle's contribution to Information Technology Month. Throughout Australia during October, activities have been held to promote a greater awareness of the effect that technology has on our lives.
There's a national... Well, I think that's become more and more obvious. We've all got those little plastic cards now for transferring money around the place. We all know that the government has huge computers that list all of our daily doings and take into account all of our phone calls and so on. That sort of thing is affecting us all.
Included in the displays are personal computers, library data banks, electronic banking and telecommunication systems. Specialised seminars are scheduled for this evening and throughout the day tomorrow. A local directory of computer software, hardware and services has also been compiled.
It offers the businessman as well as the general public the chance to find where he can go to find a particular piece of computer software useful for their needs. It might be on word processing, or it might be on billing for a medical practice, or it might be on surveying or drafting or systems control.
While technical wizardry and how it can assist business was the name of the game today, government assistance schemes for small business also came under scrutiny. Here at the Small Business Centre at Newcastle Technical College, a study group has compiled a report on government assistance schemes. The report has found that most small businesses are not taking advantage of government schemes and in most cases are not aware that they exist.
The study of small businesses in Newcastle and Maitland was conducted over a 12-month period. It was compiled by final year students from the School of Business and Administration Studies, who presented their findings at a function last night.
From our results, we found that, as I say, a large number of small business managers were vastly unaware of the amount of government assistance. An interesting figure lies with, say, manufacture. I think we found that some 3/4 of manufacturers surveyed were totally unaware of around 80% of the schemes that were available to them. Retail wholesale was on a par with that sort of figure. Even agriculture. It was really a result that went across all industries.
The official opening of the new Social Security office at Wyong was attended by representatives of pensioner and community groups on the Central Coast. In opening the complex, the Social Security Minister Brian Howe said it represents a considerable improvement over the office at the entrance which it replaces. That office was unable to provide a full regional service, with many records being kept at Gosford. Of the 82,000 people in the Wyong region, almost 30,000 receive some form of pension, benefit or allowance. To cope with that volume of business, the new offices occupy 3 floors and 61 staff are employed to administer the annual payout of $122 million. Having inspected the new offices, Mr Howe travelled to Muswellbrook for the official opening of the new Kura Enterprises workshop for the intellectually handicapped. The $360,000 complex replaces an old workshop in Muswellbrook. It's the end result of 5 years planning and fundraising by the Muswellbrook branch of the Challenge Foundation in New South Wales. The foundation, which used to be known as the Subnormal Children's Welfare Association, raised $60,000 towards the cost and was given $260,000 in grants by the federal government. The remaining $44,000 was raised by the NBN Telethon for the International Year of the Disabled in 1981. At the moment, 18 handicapped people are employed, making guideposts, surveyors' pegs and toys, but the Challenge Foundation is now planning for future expansion.
When the Australian Test selectors yesterday named the team to play New Zealand in the first test in a week's time in Brisbane, 5 of the players were in Newcastle preparing for the Shield match. Victoria's sole cap was Simon O'Donnell. The all-rounder has recovered from a recent thigh injury. O'Donnell breezed through the fitness test in Melbourne on Wednesday night and was happy at training yesterday.
Yeah, I was happy. We've had a good bowl today and excellent conditions here at the uni, so it's been a good preparation and we're ready and raring to go for a quick win in 4 days.
But if the number of test selections is anything to go by, then O'Donnell's confidence would seem to be optimistic. To Victoria's 1 cap, New South Wales has 4, with pacemen Jeff Lawson and Dave Gilbert, all-rounder Greg Matthews and local spinner Dutchie Holland all making the grade. Pitch curator Ken Stace has predicted a hard and fast track today, and with characteristic enthusiasm, Dutchie Holland is looking forward to getting on with the bowling task.
Oh well, I like to see a nice hard fast wicket. It's good for the game and good for the batsmen to play their shots, but I don't mind bowling on the wicket when there's a bit of pace in it, particularly if I can get a bit of turn. But if there's some pace there, the ball will bounce a little more and hopefully help me to get some wickets that way.
Victorian captain Ray Bright won the toss from New South Wales' Dirk Wellham and sent the Blues into bat. First to go for New South Wales on the hard wicket was opener Mark Waugh, caught by keeper Michael Dimatina off the pace bowling of Merv Hughes without scoring. New South Wales one down for just 2 runs. Captain Wellham came in to join other opener Michael Taylor. This is one of Wellham's 2 lives, giving a difficult chance to Dimatina off Hughes when he was on 8. Wellham on 15 and the Hughes-Dimatina combination strikes again. The Blues were off to a bad start. However, Clifford, striking the ball well, joined opener Taylor for what looked like being an encouraging partnership. But in the last over before lunch, Clifford on 29 fell victim to the bowling of Tony Dodemain, leaving New South Wales struggling at 3 for 72. After lunch, all-rounder Greg Matthews began aggressively, and having been selected for Australia in the first test against the Kiwis, he was looking to add to his confidence. Opener Taylor, still hanging in there, was steadily becoming more bravado. It took to Victorian captain Ray Bright with fine stroke play. Taylor reached his half-century with this magnificent 6 off the bowling of test player Simon O'Donnell. But the 4th wicket partnership of 82 between Taylor and Matthews came to an end when Matthews on 35 played Simon Davis onto his wicket. At the tea break, New South Wales was 4 for 154, with the new batsman Steve Waugh on 5, Taylor not out on 76.
This week, the Anglican parish of Mount Vincent near Kurrikuri held festivities to mark 100 years as a congregation. The old stone wall building is the 3rd church built on the site. The first was erected in 1843, the second in 1870 and the present church in 1911. At least 400 people have attended the week of festivities, which included a centenary cabaret and a debutante ball. Today's Eucharist service was led by the Reverend Bishop Holland, and to cater for the large congregation, an army tent provided shelter for those who enjoyed the service outside. Meanwhile, a congregation of hundreds gathered at St Joseph's in Maitland for an outdoor Thanksgiving service, marking 150 years of the church parish. To add to the historic event, some members of the congregation dressed in period costume. The Mass was addressed by Archbishop of Sydney, Reverend Clancy, and attended by the Bishop of Maitland, Reverend Clark. The first parish of St Joseph's was established in Maitland in 1835, and today's Mass marked the end of a week of sesquicentennial celebrations.
And jubilees and centenaries.
Trophies of past success line the walls of the Pandora's hair salon at Charlestown Shopping Square. But for owner hairdresser Julie Buxton, her biggest achievement is selection into the 3-member Australian team, which will travel to Verona in Italy for the World Championships next September. Julie has just returned home from the national titles, which were held in Perth on the weekend. She says that next year Australia is confident that they'll be in the running for the world title.
I think this time it's one of the best teams that Australia's had for a long while, because sometimes they get a team where, you know, probably one member in it sort of doesn't really know what they're doing, and they've sort of, the rest of the team's got to help that member along. Well, this team, sort of everyone's got their own interpretations and everyone's a pretty good team.
Like any competition, there's some hard training in store, and Julie says that the international opposition will be a new experience for the team.
The main oppositions usually are the best are the Italians, the French, the Germans and the Americans. So.
What type of training is involved?
About 3 months beforehand, because you've got to make sure that everything's, you know, really suitable for the model. That, you know, it includes the clothing, makeup, colouring of the hair, the cutting of the hair, and then when you actually get over there, there's 3 styles that have all got to be performed on the one model, and that's sort of what I had to do in Perth this weekend.
Firemen received numerous calls to the unoccupied weatherboard cottage in Henry Street just before 7 o'clock last night. Though they responded quickly, by the time they arrived the structure was already engulfed in flames, and their first concern was for a neighbouring house. Having eliminated any chance of the fire spreading, the firemen then turned their attention on the blazing cottage, but still took half an hour to completely extinguish the flames. No one had lived in the house for some time, and authorities are now investigating the possible causes of the fire. New South Wales resumed yesterday at 9 down for 227, but managed to hang on for only 30 minutes and 17 runs before hometown spinner Dutchie Holland went. With only a target of 168 for an outright win, and with first innings points, the Vicks looked good. But it didn't last. Jeff Lawson and Dave Gilbert had them 3 down for 37 at lunch, Dav Watmore for a duck, Quinn for 1, and Jones well caught for 9. Lunch changed nothing, and spinners Greg Matthews and Bob Holland set about destroying the Southerners. Simon O'Donnell went first for 4 in the opening over, and it was 4 for 37. Then Siddons 5 for 42, then Hibbert 6 for 42. Doddermaid and Bright hung on, but Doddermaid went for 11, it was 7 for 71. Bright made it 8 for 71 after a patient 16. Fast bowler Merv Hughes came in, got some advice, or was it how many sugars? He was back in the stand before the jug had boiled, out second ball for a duck, and it was 9 for 71. Last man out was Dimatina for 7, and the pain stopped for Victoria before tea, all out for 78, and New South Wales had won by 90 runs. Debate on the question was heated. The council had passed the 9-day fortnight motion at the last council meeting, and last night several aldermen called for the motion to be rescinded. Opponents to the motion claimed it meant reduced services and inconvenience to the public. Alderman Hughes noted the trend in other spheres, such as in the retail trade, to extend hours, and called on aldermen to reconsider the original decision. The mover of the original motion, Alderman Edwards, stood his ground. It was put to the vote, and the rescission motion was narrowly defeated. The 9-day fortnight offer will now become part of negotiations on award conditions for the salaried staff. Lake Macquarie Mayor Alderman Jeff Pasterfield says the effect on council's operations will be limited.
It will cover your indoor staff, mainly your clerical staff here, your counters, where people come to do their business, etc., about their applications, etc., etc.
So do you foresee any inconvenience to the public?
No, I would see an inconvenience on that particular day off if that were to reflect sufficiently unfavourably. But if, provided that we are careful in how we were to approach those days in which council are operating, I believe that there is substantial reason for examining the possibility of giving an improved service.
This is Pacific Park at the East End, under development. This is the park now. This is the home of the Newcastle Lord Mayor of 1889. The same house now. And this was once a very prestigious address, right in the heart of the fashionable East End of Newcastle, as it was in the end of last century. The history of this area has been captured and personified in an exhibition at the Regional Art Gallery. Curator Torres has spent the last 2 years gathering photographs, newspaper clippings and artworks and sound recordings, including a wartime piece by this man, Alexander Galloway, Metropolis of Steel.
It's really well organised at the gallery here. I never thought I could get it this organised. I'm very grateful to the staff here, and yeah, I just feel a really nice sense of satisfaction now that I've used all the ingredients to make my big meal, and this is it. I think it's wonderful.
Various prominent East End personalities are also featured. The late, well-loved Jean Perrott, champion of the East End Residents Group, and Uncle Rex, the assassin of sorrow, magician of the past. A total of 23 artists from the Printmakers' Workshop have lent their talents to this tribute to the Bohemian quarter of Newcastle, the city within a city, whose lifetime mirrors the development of Newcastle from a small mining town to a major industrial city.
There's an old showbiz adage, don't put your daughter on the stage. Well, luckily Heather Bray Tiffany didn't take that advice, for her 4-week-old daughter, Windsor Park Gem, today proved to be one of the real stars of the Dungog show. More on Gem and her competition in the NBN News tonight at 6.
The Belmont Central Business District is about to get an injection of life with a $5.5 million shopping centre development. The centre, which will comprise a Franklin's supermarket and 18 specialty stores, aims to win Belmont customers back from Charlestown. I'm Mark Matho, and I'll have full details in NBN's Hour of News at 6 tonight.
The Belmont Central Business District has felt the competitive pinch over recent years, losing trade mainly due to the expansion of Charlestown's shopping centre. A national developer called Property Estates has seized the opportunity to give Belmont a boost by redeveloping the old cooperative store site. The store buildings and 4 houses on the site will be demolished almost immediately, making way for a $5.5 million development that will cover the whole block. Property Estates and its partner John Comerford Real Estate plan to have a Franklin's supermarket and up to 18 specialty stores operating by November next year. Jerry O'Doherty from John Comerford Real Estate has no time for those who say there is already too much retail development in the region. He says this shopping centre will attract customers back to Belmont.
This is redevelopment. In other words, a derelict site is being reborn, and we are only providing facilities that have been denied the Belmont people. They have to go out of Belmont to shop economically for their weekly needs. Franklin's, as a very competitive trader, will provide the interest and entice them to shop in Belmont.
The shopping development boom seems set to spread to Cessnock, where Pennant Holdings has proposed a multi-million-dollar retail, business and recreational development. It would be built on a huge 60-hectare site in the middle of town, which is now owned by Coal and Allied. The mining company plans to give Pennant Holdings the land in return for having their new Central Coalfields office built by the developer. As well as building the office, Pennant wants to build the Cessnock Fair Shopping Centre, which would feature a major discount store, supermarket, between 15 and 20 specialty stores, and possibly a Grace Brothers. But the plans don't stop there. A leisure tourist centre has been mooted, including an indoor pool, skating rink and gymnasium. Finally, there is a planned light industrial complex completing the picture. If the development gets council approval, the shopping centre and the Coal and Allied office will be completed by next November. The council is expecting to decide this month between the Pennant Holdings proposal and a much smaller plan by Dalgetty's to expand the present Woolworths site.
It's our contention to council that if Cessnock's retail area is ever to get out of the shadow of Maitland and Newcastle, it needs a real big and major development in both commercial and retail development. Our overall development takes care of this and also introduces a major new commercial office block in the form of Coal and Allied.
Spears Point